pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. The minutes of the regular city commission meeting held August 15th, 2022.
Motion.
Okay, so we can get a motion by Shane,
Second.
Commissioner Robbins second. There is an item that we have to change. It was indicated that the fire chief give the police report, and it's actually should just change to the police chief give the police report in the minutes.
We'll happily make that change.
Okay, perfect. So any other discussion on the minutes? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Visitors and delegations. We have Sean Root from the Lake Region Ambulance Service. If you'd please come to the podium.
I'm going to need a copy of this. I'm here for, not for the ambulance, but for the training center. Talked to the county commissioners this morning, and we cannot get the USDA grant for that program, but we can get a USDA loan. I'm also looking at commercial loans, things like that. We got the total bill. I did send that to you guys to look at. We're looking at around $150,000, $170,000 to finish the training center. The training center is, the county commissioners say they'd pay for half, or they would help, not pay for half. They would support half of the project. So if we were to look at a loan, we're looking at anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 per commissioner, city and county per year. So we're trying to, I got some bunch of numbers. I'm just looking for support today. For those that I think, Mr. Mayor, you're aware of the program?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't have to go into detail about it. So yeah, we've been working on this for a while. We got our 501c3. We've been trying to secure funds so it doesn't have to cost us anything. We do have a lot of interest in other people besides Devil's Lake or Ramsey County using it. So BIA is one of them. This could be easily a regional training center. So we want to keep working forward with this. So the reason I'm bringing it up today is because the USD loan is going to be defunct as of Christmas of this year. They won't be doing it anymore. They're going to change a lot of things. It'll be a little bit harder for us to go with. I'm just looking for permission basically to go forward with this and get some numbers for you guys. So at least we can start working on it. I can give a couple different options, being a private, commercial, Bank of North Dakota, or USDA, just to give you guys some numbers and you guys can look at it. So it's going to cost the city $10,000 per year for 10 years or whatever it's going to cost. So it's just something I wanted to look at real quick.
Would it be something you'd continue to chase grants for if you got the
Absolutely.
loan to offset the?
Absolutely. And then we're also looking at different ways of bringing in revenue. Whoever's not in basically the coalition right now, that would come in and teach, they would have to pay a fee to teach there. So we'll be getting money from that as well. So every place that we get money for will be giving money back to whatever you guys would spend for it.
And you, how about for maintenance and operation ongoing? Was there a revenue source for that? Or do we committed to doing
You
something?
committed to do something for that for now
Okay,
until we can get revenue and stuff going.
Yeah, us and the county split that, right?
Yep.
And what was that commitment again? Refresh my memory. Was that 5,000?
I basically every quarter I come in and give Spencer the bill, and then he pays for half of the bill. The county put in about 10, so
For the utilities.
for the utilities.
For
Yeah.
the utilities.
Yeah, I know what it's for. I just didn't remember the amount. anymore.
So it's roughly around 10 is what the county gave. So
And I was a little late to looking at stuff before the meeting, but the construction engineering, was that basically, I read it real quick, but I didn't get to absorb it. What was their participation going to be? The demolition? Was that?
no, demolition's done. We did, all the
Okay,
volunteers
so-
went in demolition.
Okay,
So now it's basically construction. There's a couple of things that they excluded, and that was going to be the drain tile. I figured out why there's water problems down there. There's no drain tile. There's no gutters. So there was a couple other things that are added in here for expenses. And it's actually not that bad as far as all the other services. They're all local services that we come in to fix it.
okay, they listed everything they weren't going to do, but what part of the project would they do then?
Basically redo the whole inside. So
They
there's
would hire a contractor to do that then?
Yep. No, so it'd be Mike Dunn and then would do the building of it. They've got projects in town. They like to add it to the list of things to do. So they'd finish the inside.
Mayor Mo, members of the commission, if I may, Mr. Rue, just in the interest of trying to get information to best advise the commission how to move forward, when you talked to the county, did they express their acceptance to proceed forward with funding in subsequent years or through the grant program that they've kind of set up where they're receiving applications for their ARPA funding
Loan.
for the loan? Okay.
Yep. So they wanted to pay half of if we can find a loan and then
Over time.
bring
Okay.
more information and see if it's going to be over 10 years, 15 years, whatever it's going to be.
How much of a loan are you looking to secure?
About 170,000.
Okay.
To finish it out. I did talk to Otter Tail, that substation that's going to be let go here shortly. And our name's on the top of the list, so we can actually have more area for parking up there.
Are they gonna donate that or is that?
I'm working on that.
Okay. Okay. So you're just more information or just you
See
want a
if there's
commitment?
support, if I get more information, and then I can bring you guys with more options. If it's something that this commission would be interested in helping us
So
go
there's
forward with the project.
no action necessary tonight.
Just more of a head nod. I guess
Yes.
I wouldn't be opposed to more information.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I-
they'll definitely need more information. I just need you guys, I just
I-
need to know you're in my corner right now.
I think he's just seeking, if he does pursue the loan and he gets the loan, that the city's going to
You're gonna have your
that
back.
help, that we're going to have their back. And what I would recommend the commission is, this is going to benefit not just the ambulance service, but also provide a resource for the BIA, as he said, and maybe other community partners. And if we have a willing partner in the county, working up a funding mechanism over the course of the next few years could be strategic. I also think about the ARPA funding that we have, and those funds need to be obligated by a certain date in 2024. And so just thinking in the interest of if there's a way to save interest and there's an interest amongst the commission to provide more of a lump sum effort to save interest, if that's also of interest to the county. Obviously, you spoke with them. I don't know what in what depth, but what I would recommend in the interim between this meeting and the next meeting, I'll meet with Sean and try work up a proposal that could be satisfactory to both the ambulance service and the county commission, as well as the city commission, of course.
And this is, the big one is going to be for like the correctional facility. They don't have any place to train, neither do our police officers. So the people that could be using it the most are this is where our drone team is located. This is where correctional will be having all the classes. Police officer will be able to have classes there as well. Firemen, not so much. We don't want them there.
Unruly.
That way you'll save your money, right? Yeah. There you go.
But that's all I had.
Okay. Well, thanks for the information, Sean.
You guys need any info from the ambulance? Any updates? I'll wait for next time then. You guys got a busy docket. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sean. Our next visitor is Susan Walker from the Clothing Outlets. Would you please come forward, state your name, please, and purpose of the.
Hello, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Do you have a quick question? Jason's not here. Is that up to me to contact him to represent? Or
No.
how
No.
does that work?
No, we'll get him up to speed,
Okay.
some of the
Very good.
information.
I'm going to go ahead and just hand over some information about the petition that was started at my location. Just some demographic. This is the actual petition that was signed. And these are copies of the percentages by city who signed it. So I'm just passing here. Hopefully it'll go around to the left while I speak here for a few minutes. But I have a petition outline that each one of you can have a copy of that tells you the demographic of the
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what I did is I took the petition that I was told that I could collect. I had initially been open for just a week and a half and had a tremendous outpour from the community that was walking in. asking me to provide additional clothing that I did not have. Men were the first one who came in, had about 100 of them come in, asked me to bring in denim, polo shirts, jackets, shoes, boots. Then started having the moms come in, asking if I could bring in little children's clothes, 2T, 3T, like that. Shoes have been a huge request. So I did talk to Brad Barth, ask him to swing by, and I had stated that I could perhaps start a petition because my location was not large enough to handle this additional outpouring of requests. So that's what that is. You will notice 70% of that petition was for people from Devil's Lake. So thank you, Mayor Jim Moe, for allowing me this 15 minutes. I hate public speaking. Sorry about the shaky voice.
Don't worry about it, sir. That's all right.
And the only reason I'm here is from the outpouring of the community. I feel like I was handed the ball and I have to carry it forward. And here I am carrying it to you guys. So I appreciate the city commission, and I've provided the free feedback that I did receive from the commission and Forward Devil's Lake. And what they came back to me with was that I'm a level 2 business. So I'm a small business. I have less than 100 employees. I've also heard it's less than 30. So I'm privately owned. I'm not publicly traded. These are the reasons I'm level 2. I'm a retail store, not a manufacturer. I collect local sales tax. I'm not a manufacturer. I'm non-essential. I was compared to a movie theater and bowling alley. But when I looked online, every government agency includes clothing as a basic need, along with food, water, and shelter. So I ask you to not look at me as a level 2 business, but as a basic, essential business. So Clothing Outlet and More is a store selling at prices generally lower than other major stores. We do this with our uniquely special relationships with $500 million and larger connections. These connections are manufacturers. I have great news to share. We just completed 6 weeks of business as a clothing store. In June and July, we did a 7-week test as a garden decor store. We sold out of everything. We had great success with our clothing, and we've had great success with our and more, which is why I named it Clothing Outlet and More. So in just 4 weeks, we have had 1,067 Facebook followers. We're close behind Ace Hardware, Devil's Lake, and Walmart Devil's Lake. Walmart has 2,000. So we're hopeful in the next 4 weeks we'll surpass Walmart. We have actually had Walmart's main manager post on her Snapchat our company, and I appreciate that. We have collected 180 petition signatures asking the city to help expand the location to offer goods for men, kids, as well as shoes, home goods, and more. 70% of our 7,300 population, 70% of the petition was from Devil's Lake. Devil's Lake's population is 7,300. We did have 2% of our shoppers from Grand Forks. We did have 1% from Fargo. And that was great to see that even people who are coming in as tourists have come by to buy from our company and would like to see us larger when they come to visit. The feedback from our shoppers includes great value and quality goods. The foot traffic averages 600 people per week. Our demographic is 94% women and 6% men per Facebook. We have 23% of our Facebook followers are 23% of our followers are 25 to 34, either single or have small families. 30% are 35 to 44. Again, families perhaps with older children. And 25% of our followers are 55 and older. Clothing Outlet and More, if you extrapolate our 6-week sales and create 10 times larger store, which would be 3,000 square feet. We are currently 300 square feet. It would create a minimum revenue of 1.6 million taxable dollars. It could be as high as 3 million if you put us on Highway 2. Jamestown does have a population of 15,000, and TJ Maxx has put in a 20,000 square foot location. I'm suggesting 3,000 because we can target the highest selling products to ensure the maximum number of sales. Why is Clothing Outlet and More the right investment for the city of Devils Lake and the region surrounding Devils Lake? We buy direct from the factories. There are no middlemen. We are uniquely connected. The factory supported Devils Lake through Clothing and Outlet and More's ownership. That's me. No other company has or can offer this to Devils Lake. We drive business by selling high quantities in place of selling few pieces at a high markup. We keep the experience fresh weekly. We depend on word of mouth to validate our business. We offer quality goods at low price to ensure shopper loyalty. This is a business, not a hobby. The ownership, that's me, offers 33 years of retail buying and mass retail sales, in addition to direct factory relationships across all categories, clothing and more. We are committed to serving Devils Lake and the region. Over time, we could possibly send out mobile stores to small towns, open more locations with similar populations across North Dakota and other states. The future of Clothing Outlet and More. We are committed to serving Devils Lake and the region. We will continue to work on lower margins while moving large quantities. We will stay focused on ladies and plus ladies until larger location is available. We will look for ways to maximize our location space. A larger location will include men's, young men's, kids, shoes, purses, gifts, toys, jewelry, domestics, giftware, home goods, etc. Ideas offered by Forward Devils Lake create a $3.50 per item cost increase, which will undermine the value of the business. Any solutions you have to support a $500,000 investment with 50% as a grant or other options other than the 1% loan, 4.16% loan up to $330,000 with my putting $880,000 down. I thank you for your time, and I would love any questions you have for me or suggestions.
Well, thank you, Susan, for your great introduction and what you're trying to do for our community. And as you said, you want to build your business, and I happen to agree with it. You know, Susan and I have had the opportunity to sit down and go through some of this stuff, and you're exactly what I think Devils Lake needs. And I, want to hope that we can work with you, but we have things we have to follow, as far as where we're set up right now. So, some of the things you're probably asking for are not something we're prepared to be able to make happen, but we want to encourage you to grow your business in this community without a question. And I think I can speak for the rest of the commission when I say that. So
I think when I talked to her on the phone, mentioned the North Central Planning Commission.
Spoken to everybody that everybody's referred me to, right where I'm at, $3.50 a unit price increase.
Okay.
I'm not really sure I follow you when you say the 350.
So people come in to shop, they're accustomed to maybe an average cost of $13.99.
Yep.
So now we're at, $17.49.
Oh, because of the
Yeah.
cost,
Yeah.
added cost.
Okay,
Yeah.
I follow.
Okay.
And you were looking for how much?
It's a $500,000 investment. I'd like the city to support half. We'd have tax revenue coming in that would support the city. I'm sure there's a combination, just because I'm asking for what I would like. I mean, perhaps instead of just a no, perhaps there's another option.
I mean, we've done stuff like tax forgiveness on the building and stuff like that, which isn't even close to what you're asking, but that's something we've done in the past. I offered a 5-year tax abatement for a new business.
Even if
Okay.
it's outside of the Renaissance District?
I honestly, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you, but I'm
I
sure there's,
believe that.
No.
Can anybody, there has been tax breaks for people outside of the Renaissance District, right? I do too, yes.
Is there any opportunity for any of the renovation work that could be done on a building that would be covered? Signage, things like that. Is there any outside of Renaissance? Is there any assistance there? Any dollars?
We do have a facade program, right?
Yeah.
that's like 0% interest or something. Does that sound right? I don't know it off the top of my head, but
But it's a loan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mortgage.
Most of the things that we can offer are low interest loans. Correct.
Over 30 years. Exactly. That's the problem. Everything's 5 years.
yeah, I think everybody's appreciative of what you're thinking about doing, but the fact of grants for something like that just don't seem to be in our
And
ability.
I think what I'm gonna continue to work within what I have, because if I change it, the cost is gonna go up on the goods, and that's gonna undermine the value of what I'm doing. But in place of me collecting signatures, because if 380 people were sitting here, you might feel a little differently, is I'm just gonna encourage the people walking in to contact your group directly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I
Very
do,
well.
but I think we know that the people want this store. I don't believe for a second that anyone here doesn't believe we want that store.
I really wished you were there when people come in with their little kids and ask,
Mhm.
do you have clothing? And, they've got an old car that's broken down, or they've got a stroller full of children, and now they have to put the kids in the car and drive to Grand Forks while Billy's got a basketball game and, whatever. It's hard. And it's hard to hear their stories. It's heartbreaking. And that is why I'm even here.
Mhm.
Because it's been really hard to hear the stories and the requests. Pulls at your heartstrings.
I did call quite a few businesses downtown just to get their take on, the commission giving out money, since, the only time we really do it is primary sector. We never did it for any of the businesses downtown for stuff like that. They went through the facade programs, and most of them did say that they do love the idea. We don't have stuff here for our 55 and over age group. The only thing that they warned about was, if it's a reasonable amount or a situation to play with. But they said if they go, too astronomical, then we're going to have quite a few more businesses in here on the other end that will be not quite as peaceful as you are. So there were a lot of favor, for businesses that haven't received anything, but they just didn't want to, go overboard where now we start hurting our other businesses that have been here that they've done it on their own. But
Yeah.
They've put it up.
And when I started this, I just went to go get 6 shirts at Walmart because I ruined shirts when I did the garden store. So I needed new shirts. So I didn't see any shirts at Walmart. I went to Maurice's. I found 2. I bought 2. I needed 6 in my mind. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to drive all the way to Grand Forks. This is ridiculous. And I called 3 of my favorite clothing manufacturers, my biggest ones. One's a $1 billion company. Called them because I've worked with these. I'm a buyer by trade. Okay, I bought for a club store, and I did that for 15 years. And then I left and I started my company, and I'm a product broker to mass retail. And I have a large corporation. We sell to 14 countries. So these very wonderful people I work for that have become my friends. And I said, I'm in this little town and we don't have anything. We have a Walmart, we have a Maurice's. Will you help me start a TJ Maxx style store and give me the prices that TJ Maxx has when I'm not buying that quantity? And they said, I will help your little town.
You know, we discussed the possibility of putting a building up alongside your place and things like that. And, you know, I think the city could help in ways of some areas like that, possibly as far as, you know, setbacks and allowing you for certain things. I gotta be careful stepping out of bounds, but those are things that I think are
I think it'd be really,
doable.
I am set for my life. I don't need to do this. I'm happy to do this. It makes me give back to the community.
But-
The people I work with would be happy to give back to the community, and I would appreciate, and the community would appreciate anything you guys can do to create the most
But-
cost-effective opportunity we would have.
As far
to
as
expand.
buying the building and doing things like that, you know, we offer you tax incentives and things of that nature. I mean, those are things that we're capable of doing. And, you
What,
know,
you know,
working
if
with
people
you-
could nail down exactly what could be applied, then I could at least take that.
I would believe you'd have to provide a building plan and a business plan to kind of,
If I
present
knew
it
the
to the
dollars
city.
I'm working with, I would present the plan to the dollars I have available.
and.
And I would
Brad,
match,
if I'm out of line,
I would match the city.
Go ahead, Jack.
our city attorney.
Yeah, this is Jack Junker, the city attorney, for those in the room that don't know who's talking. Well, I just want to make sure I have this straight. Is the ask just for a blanket amount of money?
I'm asking for half of the
Okay.
500,000, which is 250, which sounds like that's not being
You just
offered.
want-
So I'm
You're asking
therefore,
for the city to give you $250,000, right?
yes,
Basically, that's the ask. Okay.
that's the ask.
Is that-
But the other
is that
side is
Matter of
what can you
reference,
offer?
Just a point.
Oh.
There is nothing that I've seen, and I granted I haven't looked into it extensively, but there's nothing I've seen that would allow the city to just give out sums of money to private businesses.
Mayor
Have
Mo,
some exceptions in our ordinance.
Oh.
So, my advice to the commission would be, if this nice lady has a building improvement or something along those lines that she would, that she'd like some type of incentive or tax break, or funding for, we can look at that. But just a blanket ask for money, that's not something that the city can do that I'm aware of.
So I'm not asking for a blanket ask. My request is 250, but I would like to know what the city could offer as a
what I
blank,
mean by
as a
blanket is
number.
not the amount, it's just, you just want cash.
Mayor
No,
Mo, members of the
That's
commission.
not true.
Mayor Mo, members of the commission, if I could, just to piggyback off the city attorney. I would say with this specific request she's making, not fulfilling it is not a qualitative judgment as to the worthiness or the contribution to the quality of life that Ms. Walker and her store are contributing to the quality of life of the area. Obviously, it's undoubtedly desirable to have a better shopping amenities in the region. You know, we have existing frameworks in place as to how we help and support economic development. We a variety of loan programs with the EDC. We have, you know, our Renaissance zones. We have our facade improvement programs. We have, sometimes you can get payment in lieu of taxes for certain industries where the increase on the value of your property, you wouldn't be taxed on the increased value of your property. We have a variety of a framework set. And, you know, we've had a couple conversations with Ms. Walker, and I know Mr. Barth has had a couple conversations with her as well. I think, you know, the nature of the request comes that, you know, some of the things that we've offered probably didn't suit what you were hoping.
They just
And
come
so-
out to $3.50 per garment. That's
And-
what that
and-
comes out to.
And when you have a successful business and you're growing, sometimes there are those extra overhead costs that come about. And so we want this business to be successful. And, you know, going outside of the current framework that we have, you know, it would be precedent setting. And, we want her to be successful and administratively, as well as, and I don't want to speak for Brad over at the EDC, we want her to be successful. And we're going to do anything that's within the realm of the framework that we have to do so. And so that would be my recommendation. And I would also just recommend that you're under no obligation to make a formal policy decision on this. I think she's given a wonderful presentation. And I think as a commission, it's very generous to hear such a presentation as well. And so that's where I would leave you. And like I said, you don't have to make a policy decision on it should you choose not to.
Well, put something together and see if it works out with what we can offer you and see if
I've done that
beneficial.
and I know what you can offer. I've gone
Yeah.
over that with the bank and everybody, and it's $3.50 a piece per garment minimum. So that's really not an option. So if I will continue again to push the local people and anybody who comes in to come to you directly. And I think over time you may feel differently. That's all I could do. But I felt obligated to come and share this with you, and I appreciate your time.
Well, I thank you for coming
Thank
in.
you.
And hope you leave excited that you can still make this work.
No,
certainly
it won't
want-
work.
we
But
want
I
you to-
appreciate that if the town can come back and offer whatever you can offer, I will match, and we will grow our business to that amount is what we'll do. And we'll do it together. I'm happy to do it together. And so are my manufacturers.
The building, you want to own it or would a lease?
Either way, it doesn't matter. The inventory to go to 300,000 square feet will be a minimum of $250,000 investment. So, I mean, I would probably prefer to own it, but that's up for debate.
There's some cities that they do buy up buildings and that they do lease them out to businesses. They've got business or buildings for startups and this and that. And, just a thought if that's a route, we
I'm
could
open
ponder.
to any ideas. I've just shared what I can share. I have little say as I just went through. I'm one little woman.
Well, your presentation will get us talking and maybe we can have some creative ideas, but no promises.
I'll come back in 3 months if you'll allow me, and I'll see what
Always.
you might be able to come back with, and perhaps we can continue the conversation.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, commission portfolios. We'll start with Commissioner Hamry. Okay.
Mr. Ransford.
Utilities fund is fully staffed at this point. And the commissioner had called me on a couple of water breaks or whatever. Some of those breaks, one of the breaks was in an area that we were working on. Some of the things that you had observed was really the utility department doing some exploratory work in an area of water main replacement. But there were it ended up being two water main breaks, one over on 10th Street Northwest in an area that we were working on. And there was a break on 3rd Avenue, just north of 6th Street near Liquor Locker. That was an area of, we hadn't had any breaks before. Not a lot of break history there. But, so to answer your specific questions related to those breaks. But other than that, just nothing in the utility department to report, unless you have questions for me.
Got nothing there. Brandon is staying awake in utilities.
Yes, he's a good fit for that department.
Good. Just staying busy with the rodeo, so.
That's this weekend, right?
Yeah. That's all I got, Mayor.
Okay.
Mike?
The only thing for sanitation commissioners, special pickup starts in 2 weeks, September 19th for Area 1 for fall cleanup. And draw everybody's attention to their calendar. Make sure they pull out their calendar. It's available online, or most people have picked it up. So you can look, see what area you're in and all the dates and important things associated with that special pickup. That's all I have for sanitation, unless you have questions for me.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner. Rob.
Streets?
Nothing for streets at the moment.
Okay. Engineering?
Engineering, we've got a lot of work going on. We initiated the water main replacement over on the west side. Currently, we'll be working on the area that has the greatest number of breaks for us. That's been 11th Street Northwest from 4th Avenue to College Drive. So if you drive by Super Pumper, that's the roadway just on the north side of Super Pumper. If you go through that area, that area is currently closed, local traffic only. And that's where we'll be doing the water main replacement. The water main replacement that we'll be doing will be by the pipe bursting method, like we've done in the past. So it's not the traditional open cut, rip up the street, rip up all the infrastructure and start putting things back together. We try and do smaller holes and pull the pipe through the old pipe while we break the old pipe in place. And so based on the time frame we're looking at right now, we'll probably get a portion of that project done. In the specifications, we had identified 11th Street has to be complete this year. 11th Street, I have no doubt, unless we're granted a very poor fall, 11th Street Northwest will be complete. And then we'll move on from there to probably another smaller area and get that pulled together. As far as our water main, or as far as our mill and overlay projects, everybody sees the improvements that have been done on College Drive and Highway 19. There's some striping and some incidental work remaining there. As far as our city-only work, the roadways adjacent to Fairview Addition, so from 8th Avenue going east, as well as south of Walnut Street. There is in 4th Avenue from 12th Avenue to 8th Avenue that work is complete. And we'll continue work on that this week and next. And I would think that our city-only mill and overlay project should be complete next week. So that area in the Marywood Addition and an area over on 18th Avenue, Commissioner, that you're very familiar with.
Yep.
I think,
Signs went out today, no parking.
so you'll be seeing some improvements. And what we're trying to do there is stagger some of the avenues so that the parking, we know parking is limited when we're there. So we're trying to adjust to do every other avenue, whatever, so that people have someplace to park as we do the work. So that's what we have for our infrastructure projects. If you have questions, for me.
Everything's good with me.
Okay. Commissioner Pierce is not here, but how about the fire chief report?
We got our annual open house. We moved it up a month this year to try and get a little bit better weather. So that's on the 14th at 5 p.m. So we'll have food and fire extinguisher demonstration, different things like that. We also, our job opening, that application period closed. We got the interviews set up for Friday. So hopefully those go well. That's all I got.
That's all you have? Okay, under mine, chief, how about that?
We participated in our first ever physical fitness test today.
Got a new force coming? Do we need a new force?
No, actually, I was very impressed. The minimum number for people coming out of the academy was 6:30, 6 minutes and 30 seconds. And most of our guys were in the fives easily, and some even close to breaking their record at POT. So very impressed. I can't say I led by example, but
Shame on you. We'll work on that, right, chief?
yes, sir. But outside of that, I was very impressed with the guys, and they're working really hard, and we're currently fully staffed, and we're going in the right direction. So, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, how about Spencer?
Just a couple quick updates. The special commission meeting is going to meet on Thursday to start the special assessment process. We might need to schedule a special city commission meeting in late October, as we got started a little late this year. And there's just a couple of publication deadlines that need to be met 15 days from first publishing in the journal and whatnot, and given the limited days that they publish, whatnot. So we'll be moving forward with that. So we'll engage you moving forward. Big thank you to Brina and Helen, who have been instrumental in the help with that process. With all the staffing changeovers in the auditing department, it's been really hard to track down some of the information, but they're pretty tenacious and they never complain. So I'm very grateful for all the help that they've been. They've been game changers. We'll have final approval of the budget on the 19th. And also we'll have Tanya here to talk about operations assessments on the 19th. She'll make the trip up here just to talk about the pros, the cons, and just be a good qualitative resource for you guys as you guys want to ask questions about implications that would have on staff and the organization. So she's going to make the trip up here on the 19th. And just to give you one last update on things that we're doing with our strategic partners, parks, schools, and as well as healthcare initiatives. Just real quick, the Park District, the sales tax amendment here to the ordinance will be before you tonight, just perfunctory, just changing the language to incorporate what was passed by the citizens here back in June, as well as I think I was talking with Terry Wallace over there at the Park District. May have them come at the next commission meeting just to give you an update what they've done since the passing of that sales tax and where they're at. As far as schools, the city was present for their open house that they had over there at the Central Middle School. And, whatever the community decides, whether or not they want to build a new middle school or keep us where we're at as far as with the buildings and stuff. The city's we've been an engaged partner. We've been at the table, and whichever way that the citizens decide that they want to take this community, the city's going to be there in the aftermath to try and make it the best situation it possibly can be. So we're engaged and we're excited about that. There's a new school energy. There's a new start of school energy in the community. It's fun to be walking around and you see kids in the area. It's fun to be here. And I would just say in broad, big thank you to the street department getting ready for back to school, painting the crosswalks and the curbs as well. And to the engineering department who's facilitating the construction change on College Drive to help make that timeline more suitable for back to school. So big thank you on that. And then healthcare, significant and meaningful progress on there. And look forward to engaging all the commissioners and in the days and weeks ahead, just to update you on that stuff. So that's what I'll leave you with.
Thank you, Spencer. Jack, have you got anything you can bring up? Are you still there?
Are you there, Jack?
Yeah,
Did you have anything you
I was
want to?
making sure, sorry. No, nothing to add.
Okay, thank you.
Didn't know if my mic was still muted.
Okay, one thing I'd like to bring up is kind of it's on the nuisance ordinance. And one of the issues is the parking lots and all the new dead cars and stuff. I'd like to enhance our ordinance on that. The chief and I have had some discussions about, maybe start with a dialogue with all the owners, but we need to build that ordinance to not allow for junk cars in our community anymore, for especially sitting in parking lots for a substantial period of time. We've been pretty lenient on them for many years, and that's it's a pathetic mess downtown by the VFW is one example. And we got another business that's got a lot of tires outside of it. We need to get that corrected. And I'd like to see us revamp that, make it a little, more effective so that we can do something about it. And that's something that'll probably include you, Jack, to build that, give us some ideas. But I think it's a good way to start by having maybe an open meeting with all the business owners that are affected by it. But that also includes a lot of residential. We have abandoned cars that have been in some backyards for way too long. And I would like to see that get corrected. And it's going to probably take, I don't know, Chief, maybe just the ordinance is effective enough to make that happen, or?
It is.
It is? Okay. But I guess I would like to see us getting to work on getting that corrected. I had a personal tour here going around the community here not too long ago. But I was already aware of the issues, but I did say I would work on taking care of that when I was running for this position, and I'd like to see us get started on it. So whatever that takes.
That little book you got, Nate.
Yep.
Does that got stuff like that in there?
That is the property maintenance code, I believe.
That's the property maintenance.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I can look into it and see if it's got anything with.
But it may
abandoned
just take,
vehicles or whatever.
to be good stewards is probably to have an open house or open forum meeting for them to be invited to tell them where we want to go and why we want to do this, and, get off to a better start than just go in there and be forceful right away. So maybe that's,
Those abandoned cars and tires that fall under a health hazard too.
yes, they do. Well, they are, and maybe maybe our ordinance is sufficient, but Jack, you can tell me, but you know, my experience when I was dealing with it, we'd get right to the point of dealing with it and then we couldn't do it, go any further. So we got
A little more teeth in it.
just something I wanted to bring up.
I think certainly our fire department. I think certainly our fire department and nuisance administrative.
Sorry, that was feedback, because I can hear better watching on YouTube.
As far as our nuisance enforcement, our police department, our city attorney, and just the broader administration, will be happy to take a look at where we're at and if there are stronger enforcement mechanisms that we could enact, and if bring those before you to see if they are tasteful to the commission. And so we'll be happy to look into that for you.
Appreciate that. Okay, good enough. Moving on, consent agenda, there's nothing on that, so we'll go into new business. Or wait, excuse me, we gotta go old business. Transient merchants, I'm sorry, my
Yeah.
apologies.
So this item, I think there was a circumstance a couple of weeks ago with a transient merchant and, you know, the enforcement of the transient merchant policy. It's one of those things where, you know, if it's not really brought to your attention, sometimes you don't see it, right, until maybe something's advertised to you or word of mouth. It's not something we actively patrol for. And, you know, there's a lot of exceptions to the rule. And I think there was a circumstance where the business had contacted city, and I'll take responsibility for the administration that we weren't as responsive as we needed to be to their request. And, you know, just took an educational approach with them, saying, hey, next time you set up, just contact the city, and I want to make sure that we're all compliant, and understanding that the intent of the transient merchant policy is to try and level the playing field for those businesses that do own property here, and they pay taxes and they pay the sales tax, and also you know, also create a balance for the quality of life that some of those transient merchants do provide for the community. And just wanted to, given that circumstances and having a conversation with Commissioner Emery, provide an opportunity for further discussion on the matter. So I would turn over to you, President Moe, and the commission, please.
Well, we're aware of the fish guy out here at the
Yeah, the seafood guy.
Seafood guy
and
and-
the backyard butchers.
we have several of them throughout the year, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, our food trucks come in, that was a couple of years ago, we changed the ordinance on that to, was it $500 for the year or $50 a day?
Are they subject to sales tax that we collect on that?
I can't say one way or the other. I'm not.
Should we be? I would think, you know, that's a pretty good business with that fish food one.
But would there be sales tax on it? Being food?
I believe, food, yeah, that's right, maybe not.
I would say if you're doing businesses in a variety of communities, you have, you track your finances in a certain way, and you have to follow state law, and there's health codes that you have to follow, and a lot goes into it. And it's something that I think people, they generally like. And, you know, you have established businesses that, you know, we want to create a level playing field the best we can. And it's one of those things, enforcement's hard. You know, you have those businesses that they really, they do it often. And so every community they go into, they submit an application, but then sometimes some people set up and they don't contact the city, and sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind. So unless you actively are driving around looking for it, it's just kind of hard to enforce. So I understand that, and administratively we need to be more proactive on that front. As well. And so just like I said, providing an opportunity for discussion if there's something you'd like to see.
Well, I was talking to Mr. Yunker. He had kind of went down a rabbit hole with it, which I see where it was leading to, you know, the mom and pop shops and the kids' lemonade stands popping up. And I guess when I look at it more of a transient merchant, I'm looking at like the food trucks, the meat trucks, the seafood trucks. But if you do look at it, rest of them do fall under it.
Yeah.
Do they get something to display? Would that be a Joe thing? Do they
They
display
don't.
something that says they have a permit to be?
They get a
operated?
permit, they fill out a permit, but they don't display anything.
Okay, would that help you? Or, I mean, you get around enough, there's so few of them. The one that pops into my head that I've thought about is like the ice cream truck type of thing. I don't know if that.
I don't know if that's transient though.
Because their business is
based in
established
Devil's
here.
Lake.
Yeah.
Transient is you move from place to place, your
Yeah.
location's not here.
So, okay, so they would be exempt. I'm just asking.
Well, I would think we'd want them exempt along with lemonade stands or any kind of children's
I don't think they'd
fundraising
be-
type
I
thing.
don't think they'd be transient because their business is
Yeah.
in Devil's Lake.
Correct.
It's based in
It's-
Devil's Lake.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's what it is. If you look at the ordinance, it was, you don't have a building here.
So transient takes care of that word
Yeah.
verbiage.
I would also add that there's a number of exceptions for, and the exceptions are pretty vague, religious groups, fraternal groups. I think it goes as far to be as vague as publicly spirited groups.
I believe
And
the
so
tacos come in, they get their permits pretty regularly, if I'm not mistaken.
And so, yeah, and at least from the short time period I've been here, it seems like the food trucks, they often set up in a variety of communities. And so they're oftentimes are more proactive with it and they submit an application. It's probably people that are newer at it or don't engage the city on the front end. And like I said, I think the specific one had engaged city staff and we weren't as responsive as we needed to be. And
So
so,
if they're selling food, if they sell something that may cause a problem down the road and someone gets sick from it, it would be nice to know where they were selling at. That might be kind of helpful, that a permit process is very important to track them in the event that did happen.
See, and I think food that's not prepared is tax exempt and food that's prepared is taxed.
yeah.
So you get,
And there's fine line there.
So maybe it's something we do have to look at a little bit,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
and not try to hurt the youth, all the youth
Right.
and church-related groups that are trying to do it for fundraising.
Yeah.
If they're trying to do it for profit, it's a different story, but if they're doing it for fundraising, I don't think we are into that, taking their money.
No.
At least I wouldn't want to
No.
be.
The reason I brought it up was looking out for our local businesses, because like Mr. Alverson said, they pay taxes here, they give to our community.
Yep.
These guys come in, make a pretty good profit, and then they're on the road to the next town.
Okay, you'll look into it.
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Jack, go ahead.
with this ordinance, I would recommend the city either redo it with detailed and specific language for who it applies to and who it excludes. As it reads right now, it would include kids that set up lemonade stands and collect money
Well,
for
we
it.
don't want
Yeah, I
that.
want that.
Are we clear on
What we
that?
want to avoid is we don't want to get in a situation where we're selectively enforcing the ordinance for obvious reasons.
We want the ordinance to go for like what we said, transient, and then pretty much permit process for someone that's selling cooked food, I suppose, because, so in case somebody was sick, we have a tracking mechanism so that we can find out what happened. Now, hopefully it never happens. I haven't ever heard of it, but it could.
Is that something you'd put on your list of things to do, Jack?
I sure can.
Mark, what's you got?
Thank you.
Years ago, we thought about this merchant transient permit. Wasn't it put into the permit that it had to be a North Dakota product?
I can't answer that for you, Saj.
It seems to me years ago, when all these greenhouses were popping up, we were saying, well, it had to be grown in North Dakota, it had to be a North Dakota product. Well, as far as I know, these meat trucks are coming out of Texas. The food trucks are coming from all over. You got 2 new meat markets in Devils Lake and 1 in Ramsey County. These guys invested a lot of money here, and you're just letting these trucks come in and gone.
Mm-hmm.
People forget real fast too if they got a bad mistake. That was last time. We'll get another. We'll try it again. People forgive too easily like that too. So I just wondered if it had a clause in there about being North Dakota products only. At one time, I'm pretty sure it did.
Okay, but I know you've probably got a lot on your plate, Jack, but is it something that do we want to set up a potential timeframe? If it wasn't for a deadline, I wouldn't get anything done. I mean,
Oh, just a second here. I have the definition up in the municipal code, so give me 1 second. the definition of who the transient merchant applications and permits apply to. Based on my cursory review, it does not apply only to North Dakota products. So that's something we can change, but flip side of it is competition and never hurt anyone in a free market.
So do we just
That's another one.
6 weeks or? Do
Yeah, we should.
I mean, like say just to review it and bring it back.
Yeah. We can discuss
Review it and make your recommendations or your thoughts.
Next month's meeting if we wanted to.
Would that be something? Review it, give your recommendations, and then we can discuss it at the commission meeting?
Sound good?
Yeah, we're going to need a more in-depth discussion than what we've had for what you guys.
Right. Well, so you have an idea where we're coming from, I guess, is the main thing. We want to make sure that our people in town have the fair access and are treated fair, and then our youth are able to do what they do. You know, we got Girl Scouts selling cookies. I hope that doesn't come into play and things like that. Those are things we don't want to hurt.
We can go forward and amend it. I would just hold off on enforcing it until we get it amended, and I can work with Spencer and the commission to get it amended so that it's satisfactory to what the commissioners are looking for.
Good enough.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on the transient merchant? Not, we will go on to the law enforcement center.
Yeah, just providing the commission an opportunity, if you recall throughout the budget process, that we had a conversation on the rent that the city pays at the LEC, and it was at a previous level, and then it was increased, and the city had been paying the lower rate for some time. And throughout the budget process, where we left off was that we put it at the level that the LEC is requesting. Being that in the interim, we can't increase our expenses, we can only decrease them. And just providing the commission that opportunity to further discuss the matter and provide any direction that they would like to provide. As of right now, again, in the budget is the fully requested rent from the LAC. And, unless otherwise directed, that's what's in the budget moving forward. Just with the budget being approved on the 19th, wanted to give you that opportunity like I had said we would give you. So just here, the formal item. And I believe if there is somebody from the LAC here, should you have a question on the LAC and their operations between Commissioner Hamrick, Commissioner Robbins, and representative from the LAC, hopefully they can get you the answers you need. So.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to leave it as we budgeted. I just think it's, like I said before, it's unfortunate the way it played out in the past, but I'm comfortable leaving it the way it is right now.
Yeah. It's reluctant, yeah.
Maybe we need an update of how things are going.
Well, we have the interim director here. She can give us an update here real quick, start.
I guess I would appreciate hearing how things are going.
In regards to what?
Well, I mean, we don't have a director, and how is expense wise and status wise, I guess, overall.
If I could request if she is to give an update, if you could just come to the podium.
Yes,
if you do feel inclined.
I would suggest about the only thing you could really, because you don't have the budget, well, maybe Peggy's got some stuff, but you don't have it off the top of your head, but how about staffing for the
Financial
jail?
person also, so.
Okay. But
One of the reasons.
Would you please introduce yourselves? I'm sorry, for the record, I guess.
Star Clementry, interim director of the law enforcement.
Thank you.
Peggy Hoyle, finance administrator for the law enforcement center. In regard to the rents, and I really want to, I hate the term rents because the monies that have been requested over, okay, many of you don't know this, but I just celebrated my 27th anniversary with the law enforcement center. So I have a lot of history on how things developed over the years. The rents were never really considered a rent so much as maintenance for that building. And that was a term that was just thrown out because it was easy to throw into your line items. Basically, that's what it was. The rents that we collect from our different departments go to office maintenance, they go to custodial work that needs to be done. Now, of course, with COVID over the last few years and with the high separation of the positions between the police department, the sheriff's office, and the regulations coming out of the DOCR in regard to in and out of the correctional facility, we kind of had to take a step back from being able to do those custodial things that really are, we were forced to leave that up to the departments to handle that because we couldn't cross those barriers from what the DOCR was really pushing at us during those heavy COVID times. That being said, your representatives did agree to the increase. It was put through the budgets. I really wish there had been more of a discussion with it, but that is not for me to say. I work for all of you. I don't tell you how to do your business. So as far as financially, we're holding up. We have not hit the minimum that we set for our general fund. As of this time, we're sitting at right around a $450,000 minimum that we need to stay in compliance with Gadsby. Our cap is still at 50. We have gone back to a class 1 facility, but we are housing up to 50 now. So there will be a lot less transporting of your detainees to other facilities. So you will see that coming to a halt. We're holding up pretty good. I knock on wood when I say that, because it only takes a water pipe break within that facility to cost the facility quite an extensive amount of money. It's going on 60 years old. It is, we shake our heads at some of the things that were done in that facility when it was built. But now we have to fix all that. So from the financial aspect, I try to be optimistic. We watch our pennies. If we watch our pennies, the dollars take care of themselves. We will get back to that stage where we can provide those services to our outside departments, such as the custodial and maintenance within those areas of our building. Of course, those are capital improvements that will have to be discussed with our board first and then brought back to your boards. Are there any questions that you might have?
We didn't, and we had a fairly good review by the DOCR last week.
It was not terrible.
No, it wasn't
I'll let you
terrible.
step up.
And we are maintaining 14 staff in the jail. So, and we have a captain in the jail. And hopefully this month, we'll be able to advertise for director position. And we're just,
The sheriff has no overall, is he just overseeing everything, or does he have any input, or?
the sheriff is there, yes. He,
Wow.
if I have questions,
He's the go-to guy, is
he
that,
would be one of my go-to guys.
you say that kind of in a way that I just,
He's one of the go-to guys.
No, the DOCR come in today, did a analysis, and it went not terrible, not super great. They'll be back in 2 months, October, to do a super analysis.
Full annual assessment.
Full annual.
so what's that mean then? If it doesn't pass, then what
Well,
happens?
they'll give you all of your demerits for anything that you're not all of the standards, it go through what, 107,
109.
108 standards?
108 standards.
And they'll write you up for anything that you're not in compliance with, and at that point, they determine whether you can continue to operate at the level you're at, or if they say, guess what, you're starting over again, type of thing.
So if we have a class 1 facility, does that make it a little easier to meet the standards?
No, class 1 is just basically
It's
you
just
can
how long you
detain
can
for up
hold
to a year,
people.
I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
1
Yep.
year.
It's back to what it was.
You can
Yeah.
hold them for a year, and then after that, you gotta ship them out, and you could bring them back and hold them for a year again. Where level 2 was 90, and level 3 was 24,
96 hours.
96 hours. And the DOCR was in, they hit on the standards that kind of been falling by compliance ways. And a lot of them are on par with a few minor tweaks, a few different words in a page here will change it, that'll change that back to being good, just reports. So Lance was very, very
But we are
optimistic.
working towards fixing that,
Yes.
so.
Yep, no, they're going in the right way. They're doing good down there. It was good to hear that from Lance and Steve when they were up.
Yep.
And that would be why I went, had a kind of a slow yes to that, is because I don't like the term rent.
I would agree with that. Rent sounds like it's that's specifically what it is rent, and we've talked about 100 times. How do you rent from a building that you own, type of thing? But in my opinion, either it's plugged in as that line item rent, which disagree with the title, or you shove it into the operations side of the budget, and you're going to end up paying for it anyway. One way or another, you're going to end up paying for it. If you take it out of there and put it into our cost share, we're going to end up paying for it there. So that's why I just, yeah.
Just easier to talk when it's not called rent.
Yeah, and maybe that's something we can work on.
Okay, yeah, everybody satisfied? Thank you, ladies.
Thanks.
Say leave it like it is.
I don't know,
Yeah, again,
what
I-
formal
No,
action, I'm just gonna.
no
hold on my
formal-
head, I'm in favor of leaving
No
it
formal
where it is.
action is needed by the commission unless you want to change the number that's currently on there. So if you feel like the chart, the course forward is the one you want to take, then can proceed with the agenda.
No action? Okay, no consent agenda, new business, first reading of the sales tax ordinance.
Yeah, Mayor Mo, members of the commission. Just an update to the city's ordinances regarding our sales tax, just to incorporate the 0.25% sales tax from the for the Park District that was passed here past June. Just a couple notes. The city's portion of the tax was 2.25, and technically those funds come to us and then we pass through to the Park District, just the way it's set up. And so the city's portion will go from 2.25 to 2.5, with that 0.25 going to the Park District. I would just, as far as in the ordinances, in the exemption sections, just recommend keeping the exemptions the same. Sales of natural gas, gross receipts from coin-operated amusement devices, I think in arcade, and then new farm machinery and new farm irrigation equipment. So keeping those exemptions the same. The only slight difference is the maximum tax imposed. You'll notice that it says that any patron or user paying a tax imposed by this ordinance is in excess of $35. That number used to be 25. So if you think to create a bill where you would be charged $25 in city sales tax, you'd have to pay. Previously, you would have had to pay about $1,100. And if you increase the sales tax to 2.5, now you only need to spend $1,000 to get to $25. And with the intent of this to raise money for the Park District and their efforts, just recommending increasing that cap to $35. So meaning you would have to spend $1,400 at a 2.5% sales tax, and that would get to the $35 amount. I'm not sure how many constituents do submit those reimbursements to the tax commissioner's office. I don't know how many do. I think it's probably pretty rare anyways. But just the one slight change there for you. And then as far as the proceeds from the tax imposed, had a conversation with Mr. Junker this afternoon, and the Park District's sales tax is 0.25%. And so if the total sales tax is 2.5, then that's 10%. So 10% of the sales tax revenue that we receive should pass through the park district. And then as far as the other requirements, the 45% for the various allocations there, as well as throughout that are informed from the sales tax passages that have occurred throughout the history of the city, and making sure that the money is going in the direction that it needs to be going. And in further breaking it down, we might need to tweak some of the numbers here just to make sure that we're compliant with the previous sales tax approvals we had. So there might be just a slight adjustments between the first reading and the second reading, but nothing material is going to change as far as how the city normally allocates the sales tax dollars. So
For the effective date, shouldn't that say January 1st, 2023?
oh, good catch. Good catch, 2023.
Or I thought maybe I was reading that wrong.
No, you got it. So we'll make sure to make that correction. And like I said, nothing material will change. There might be a number that changes. But as far as what the city spends its sales tax dollars on and the limits, we're going to make sure to stay in compliance with the previous votes of past citizens. So would stand for any questions. Like I said, this is just the first reading and we'll have a second reading. I do regret to say that, and this is my fault administratively, with you need 15 days between ordinance readings. And with this meeting falling on a Tuesday and the next one falling on the 19th, that's not quite 15 days. So in the interest of expediency, we may need to call a special meeting to have a second hearing.
Okay, you were talking one earlier. Will that be a separate one?
That'll be later in October.
Okay.
And so I do apologize. And I think, the citizens, they have a right to expect that business is going to be conducted at a regularly scheduled meeting. I would say that there's just some time constraints that we've come up to, and we'll aspire to be better on that.
I'm fine. Could you, I understand, having it, could you just move the next Monday meeting to a Tuesday?
So the tax commissioner's office needs it by the September 30th so that it can take effect January 1st. Otherwise, I would definitely that would be my preferred method. And so I do apologize. That was an administrative.
Maybe a noon meeting or something, a quick meeting.
So with that, we just, this is the first reading. So.
Okay. Anything else on? Okay. Now we'll move on to CDL job market, the impact.
Mayor, members of the commission, I just in talking with Mike, looking at the market for employees that we have here that have CDLs, and Mike's going to give a briefing over what those requirements are, what they've changed to, and to be blunt, the federal government, something that's really sought after, they increase the requirements over typical, and so making things a little bit more difficult. But we're just trying to make sure that we're an attractive employer for people that have CDLs. And there's a couple of adjustments that we feel that we need to make in the administration. So Mike will give you an update on that.
The utilities explanation, not engineering explanation. Just kidding.
Would you rather touch the files and get a special license? It's a little harder to get it.
Give it to.
Hey, that's great. Perfect.
Honestly, the memo, I really didn't lay it out for the commission. So unless you have questions in the memo, I can review the memo with you. But there's a lot more strict requirements associated with getting a commercial driver's license at this point. It requires training. We haven't worked through all the details. I'm working with the Department of Transportation related to training and how, if we bring somebody on board that doesn't have a commercial driver's license, how we're going to get them trained. And if we get them trained, we just don't want to be a factory of sending people to school so they can get a different job, right? Not working in the city. And it's very, very important that the city has folks with commercial driver's license, because we have the trucks that have to haul the lemon, we have the trucks that have to push the snow, we have the trucks that have to haul the gravel, the trucks that repair the roadways, and all those, the folks running that need commercial driver's license.
Would you say hired somebody that had all these qualifications, would they start out at that E, or would they?
That's
Yes.
what they're looking for.
That's what we would be looking at. I mean, we would.
No, I'm not, as I was reading it as you're talking here in-house, so I was just wondering if you brought somebody else in.
To go along your point, Commissioner, realistically, if the gentleman that's currently at a 7A, if he were to quit, and he wanted to go try his hand at Walmart or whatever for a week, we would hire him back, and we would hire him back at a 7B. There's no question. right? Because he can run every piece of equipment out there. He's very good and he's a proven performer and he has a commercial driver's license.
I was just making sure. That's the reason I was asking.
So that's really where we're at this point. And so we have a lot of details that we have to work through related to commercial driver's license. We have some new employees that don't have a commercial driver's license. We know we have to work through that process. We don't want to reinvent the wheel when we're doing that process. That's why we're trying to work through the North Dakota Department of Transportation, as well as the local technical assistance program. I'm a board member on the North Dakota LTAP. They're working through the issues as well through Upper Great Plains Institute and NDSU. So we're trying to work that issue, but currently we have some employees within Public Works that are deserving of a raise. Within our personnel policy manual, there is no provision for more than a one-step increase. And so it would require commission approval. If you look at the last paragraph within the memo, it talks about the financial impacts. Really, when you look at it from a dollar perspective relative to the street department budget, it's very small, right? But we have to keep the people that we have, the good people that we have, happy, and we have to make sure that we're keeping people that have those commercial driver's licenses, especially those folks, happy, because we just don't have time to get people trained and go through that process.
So are those the only two in the whole city that are affected by this?
They're the only two that are below an E, correct?
Below an E. And then, so these are 7A, 7Ds.
Correct.
So you may have some 5Es that are okay because they're at an E?
No, the other ones, we have one other within sanitation, but he's topped out at a level 6 that we may move up to level 7, a grade 7.
So then
But he was at a 7.
Well,
I did
shouldn't
review
they
it.
all be equal when they're operators like that, Mike? I mean,
Well,
to
there's
be
different
fair,
positions, right? So we have to go through a whole process within,
You're a truck driver in sanitation, it's no different than a truck driver in utility.
but this particular person is not a driver typically.
Okay, well,
He's in the back of the
percentage of
truck.
his time is doing other stuff. I
So
think
so
you
there's
break
a
it down.
process. This was reviewed with all of the supervisors, so I went through it to make sure there are other impacts here.
Okay, yeah.
And, is everything perfect? No, the things aren't perfect. But in this particular case, it did make sense to bring these guys up to a level 7.
So what
Right now, we don't see those other impacts.
what level is that guy in sanitation?
He's a top 6M,
And he's got a CDL?
yes. He was,
But we don't want to keep that CDL driver happy, but we should keep the rest of our other CDL
that's
drivers
an
happy.
entirely different issue. Commissioner.
No, it's not. You just said we got to keep our CDL drivers happy.
But he doesn't drive, I think, is what you said.
That
But he
issue
has a CDL, so he can drive for streets, he can drive here, he can drive there, because he's a city employee. So he
That's an
can
issue.
jump in and haul snow,
But he doesn't.
but he could.
What's
What he
his
does.
percentage of
But
driving?
that position's already authorized, so he can be moved without any commission approval when there was an issue with that particular employee and there were some things that were done. So that's an entirely different issue. It's nothing to do with what we're talking about now. So I recommend approval of the change in the steps to a 7.
Okay,
I guess I'd make a motion to go with Mike's recommendation to move these two positions to a 7E as shown in the note here.
Okay, we have a motion to approve
Memo.
this memo. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, any further discussion?
Well, there could be a lot of discussion, but
Well, probably some would agree. I mean, I'd like to know a little more about it, but in fairness with CDL, if you're CDL, you should be at a certain level. I
yeah.
probably
Yeah,
would
this-
agree
this
with that.
picking departments isn't for me.
No, I think when you are a CDL, just like certain levels, it doesn't matter what department you're in. I just believe that a CDL, if you get, was he required to have a CDL? Let's say that. In
Who was he?
sanitation.
The one that's a 6N now.
Was it advertised as a CDL position?
Honestly, that position is a grade 5/7.
Then
So
why
the
does he have a?
supervisor within that department, based on some things that happened within that department, that particular employee went from a grade 7, above a grade 7E, to a 6M because of some things that had happened. So it's more of a performance, but he's already authorized to be at a grade 7. We have had discussion within the sanitation department related to people as an incentive to get a CDL, And if they can help out other departments, you know, if you're simply, if you're a picker on the back and you're not driving, you're not utilizing your CDL, but if you carry that CDL, there's some benefits to that, and those benefits should be compensated. And so we've had those discussions within sanitation. So what's happening here is, you know.
Well, we're recognizing
examples.
CDL drivers, right?
Right.
So you're saying this CDL driver that you're talking sanitation, if he walked, it wouldn't be a big deal because
No, I'm
he's not a valued CDL because he's at a 6. If he's a CDL holder, he should be.
But I think what he said was he's at that 6 because of performance issues, correct?
There were some changes that occurred within that department for that one particular individual, yes. So his job changed. But I mean, we have to understand he's at a 6N. That is much higher than a 7E.
Right. I'm just saying, if we're gonna recognize CDL drivers for that certificate, they should all be compensated equally.
Within individual departments, Mayor, and yes, that has been discussed through Human Resources and so yes, we understand that, and the change here happened in February.
Mhm.
So we're catching up with that right now.
Okay.
But yeah, there's no other, there isn't anybody else that's below an E within those departments. There was one individual that was, and we discussed him, that position in particular in a supervisor meeting, and the supervisors were present. So when this recommendation was put together, it was put together after discussions with the 3 supervisors within the department, sanitation, streets, and utilities.
Okay. I'm about fair and equitable. Okay. Any further discussion? Not, roll call vote.
Commissioner Hash.
Aye.
Commissioner Robbins.
Aye.
Commissioner Pierce.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamry.
Aye.
President Mo.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. Okay, curb and gutter and sidewalk pay estimate number, no, wait, I'm sorry,
We got
utilities higher. Get my bifocals working on.
Members of the commission just had we had a job opening in the utilities department, had an applicant that came in with extremely well qualifications for the job and looking to hire him at a 7F. Recently, city department heads were given the authority to hire up to an E. Given the vast amount of experience and the work that the utilities department is doing currently, the work that they plan to do in the future, based on the recommendations from both the utility supervisor and the public works director, bringing this person in at this level is something that would be strategic on behalf of the city's behalf. So we really want to bring this person in and so recommend approval.
Okay. We have a recommendation? Motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hatch, second by Commissioner Hamry. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, 2022 curb, gutter, and sidewalk pay estimate number 2. Mike, I'm guessing?
There should be a simple one for the commission for work completed to date for a curb gutter sidewalk contract. Total new assessment $11,525.92. Recommend approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins, second by Commissioner Hamry. Roll call for funding.
Commissioner Hash.
Aye.
Commissioner Robbins.
Aye.
Commissioner Pierce.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamry.
Aye.
President Mo.
Aye. Okay. City Project 220101, mill and overlay pay estimate number 3.
Again, this should be a simple one for the commission. It's fairly straightforward. It's for work completed to date. Total due the estimate $66,389.73. Recommend approval.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Hamry,
A second.
second by Commissioner Pierce. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hash.
Aye.
Commissioner Robbins.
Aye.
Commissioner Pierce.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamry.
Aye.
President Mo.
First reading, ordinance 983. Who's handling that? Looks like
I can
they-
address it if you would, Mayor. The ordinance addresses a very small annexation for a property along Highway 20, going south of Devil's Lake. Kind of a little bit strange there. There was a portion of the lot that was left out of an annexation in order for this particular property to make some improvements to their property. They want to combine some parcels, have it all together, and therefore be all within, excuse me, within city limits. So in this particular case, we're completing that annexation through ordinance form. And so adopting this ordinance will allow that to happen. It's just the first reading. We go through the process at the second reading, and then they will be able to combine their parcels. Their entire lot then will be within city limits, and they can do some improvements to the lot.
And it was approved through the planning commission here.
Is this on Highway 20
Wait.
on the
Yes.
east side?
East side.
East side,
Last
Project
project.
Park.
So it's finally gonna.
For those that
gravel
really
down over
remember
there.
Harley Johnson, that was at his place.
Okay.
And that's how it got caught. They were trying to do some legal work on their own side, and it was noticed that it was not part of city limits. And
In order to, I believe the issue was in order to have the number of square feet that they need in order to add on to the garage, it has to be combined as a parcel. Then you find out that, oh, that parcel is inside city limits, that parcel is outside city limits. And if you look at the maps, you can kind of see in this particular case what was within. Or the yellow line is what was in. And then you have the black line, that was part of their original parcel, but ended up getting missed. I believe there was something there. And then the blue line, then if you look at your,
So it put a quarter of their garage back on.
so if you look at the blue line, that's proposed city limits. So that's, the city's growing a little bit at a time.
Would have been nice if they just squared it up that little angle.
attention to detail.
Okay, well, no action required on that. Okay,
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
we have a motion to pay the bills. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Pierce. Roll call, or discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Hash.
Aye.
Commissioner Robbins.
Aye.
Commissioner Pierce.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamry.
Aye.
President Mo.
Aye. There would be no other business. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.